So I have here a Super Quantum Monarch deck profile, but not only would I like to showcase the deck profile itself, I would like to talk about some of the theory behind it. Now this is pretty much, for the most part, based off of OCG lists and how they've been running the deck recently. This was given to me by my friend Jerry, so shoutouts to him. I think I've changed literally one card from his, he's playing Rota over 1-for-1. I think 1-for-1 is a lot better in this deck because I feel like your monsters are a lot more expendable. And he's playing 3 red layer, but I decided to play 2 red layer and an Erebus. That might hurt consistency a little, but I feel like, you want to see Erebus turn 1. It's just really good. But the thing is, like, I feel like this deck is a lot better now, and a lot of the issues that have plagued Monarchs previously is fixed with this deck, and I feel like this deck can probably be the best deck for YCS Prague, and for the near foreseeable future until we get the real ban list or a new set of support or anything like that. And the reason I say this is because you need to ask yourself, first of all, what were some of the issues plaguing Monarchs to begin with? Now, there is one flaw that this deck can never get over, and that's going to be the inherent mechanical limitation that is of the normal summon. This deck is based on the normal summon. This deck relies on a tribute summon. That in itself, by definition in Yu-Gi-Oh! For perhaps the last 2 or 3, maybe even like 4 years, by definition this means that this cannot be the best deck in the game because of this normal summon limitation. Normal summon decks and decks limited by their normal summon cannot ever be the best deck. The game is just too power creeped and too fast and too far forward for that to ever really be the case. So unfortunately, we're never going to fix the normal summon issue of Monarchs. By all means, like, play double summon or something if you want, but trust me, you will not be able to fix the normal summon of this deck without playing shit cards or just simply scrapping it and playing something else. That's just a matter of fact. Now, moving on to the actual fixable flaws of the Monarchs, that was the issue of consistency. And I feel like the biggest reason that Monarchs bricked before this set would be because of either they have too many tribute summons, not enough tribute summons, too many tribute fodder, and not enough tribute fodder. It's all to do with the tributes and the tribute summons, or the tribute fodder. Now, previously you would have too many cards in your hand, you would have too many of these little guys, Eidos and Idea, too many of these mixed together, or you would have too many of these big guys like Erebus and Aether in your hand, or Mega Caius and other Mega Monarchs, etc, etc. So I feel like that made the deck really inconsistent because there was no real synergy with the deck, and unfortunately things like Pantheism, they reveal 3 Monarch spell or traps from the deck, so your spells are all very, very searchable. This deck is extremely consistent in getting to these, like, at any point in time almost. But getting to the monsters, which is where the real fundamental, like, engine of the deck comes from, is the monsters. That was just unable to, have any sort of synergy within the deck or have any consistency. I feel like Konami should have designed Pantheism by saying, reveal 3 Monarch cards, so you could add Aether or Erebus. Like, you could reveal 3 Erebus with your Pantheism to guarantee that you add a Erebus to your hand. I feel like, that would have made the deck really, really, really strong. But, let's not theorize and hypothesize. Let's talk about why I feel like the consistency issues are really I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I feel like the consistency issues are fixed. Honestly, I don't feel like this deck bricks any more or any less than any other deck in the game currently. Pepe lost a lot of consistency. I keep calling it Pepe. It's not Pepe. The second P is gone. But yeah, Cosmos, again, like, there's really nothing that differentiates it from Cosmo in terms of its consistency. Cosmos need pilots. Cosmos need spaceships. This deck needs tribute summons. This deck needs tribute fodder. They're very similar in the sense that they need these 2 categories of monsters in order to function. So I feel like by this deck, getting access to these new Quantum cards is basically how this deck has its consistency fixed. And the reason for that is because you can now play something like E-Tele for this one target of blue layer, Super Quantum Mega Pilot Blue Layer. So Blue Power Ranger is special summoned with E-Teleport. And you're probably wondering why you're playing 3 E-Tele with 1 target. The reason for that is because this guy can be recycled. So when he hits the graveyard, you can shuffle him back into the deck. That means if you draw E-Tele again, it's going to be live. That means you have more free tribute fodder. But this is real. This guy. Oh, by the way, he searches red layer. I hope that was obvious. When this guy is summoned, he searches this guy. This is the really, really important, amazing card in this deck, and you have access to him in 6 different forms. Well, really 5 forms. So 3 E-Tele and 2 of him. So that's 5 cards that are going to be able to bridge the gap for you. Now, this is why I feel like this is really, really important. So please get this through your mind right now. The reason I feel like the consistency issues of Monarchs have been fixed is because this card, Red Layer, bridges the gap between Tribute Fodder and Tribute Summon. Monarchs previously had an issue where Tribute Fodder and Tribute Summon was not able to mesh well together. You could not synergize these cards together and create a sort of harmony where you would be able to get one on where you would be able to have one get the other and the other get the other. So really, before, if you had too many tribute summon monsters, there was nothing you could do about this. Now this guy is amazing because he acts both as tribute summon and tribute fodder. That is absolutely phenomenal. So you have 5 copies of a tribute fodder and a tribute summon. It's extremely versatile because it can be both, and because OCG have been running 3 Return of the Monarchs, you're going to be able to get your engine going, and you're going to be able to get access to Aether, which then gets you access to any other Monarch. And that's going to keep things like Domain live. So really, you have what is honestly a very, very versatile card in this one new support card of Red Layer. Now, for those of you who don't know what Red Layer does, if you don't control a monster, you can special summon it. That's a Cyber Dragon. Why is that very good? Because if you special summon him, you can use him as tribute fodder and then tribute summon over him with Return of the Monarchs. That gets you a search, potentially a draw with Kuraz if you pop himself and pop the return. And he can also act as a tribute summon, which gets your engine going if you have Return of the Monarchs. And because, like we said, this deck is very consistent in its spell lineup, but in its monster lineup, that's always had an issue. So if you have something like Idea, you can normal summon Idea into Eidos, and then activate Return, and then tribute summon Red Layer, or search it out with the E-Tele, which you have 3 copies of. So I feel like this deck has gotten a lot of consistency just through these like new additions of the Quantum cards. And I think that kind of sums up everything I had to say. I honestly feel like by this one important card, again, like I said, I would just want to emphasize the biggest problem that Monarchs had was being able to bridge the gap between Tribute Summon and Tribute Fodder. Once you got your engine going with Eidos, previously the deck was, almost unstoppable sometimes. However, you did have, again, the issue of the normal summon, which, I'm not really going to talk about that because that's the inherent flaw of this deck. It's a normal summon, mechanically bound deck. It has no other way of playing without the normal summon. Like, that's just, that's unfortunate, but that's just what Monarchs are. It's a normal summon deck. So that's why I feel like it won't be the best deck for Prague. But I feel like it's going to be a very, 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 very good shout. And if it did win Prague, I would not for any moment be surprised if this managed to win Prague. But yeah, again, just one more time to emphasize, Red Layer is a Cyber Dragon, so you can special summon it when you control no monsters, and then you can tribute summon over it. You can even tribute summon the big guys, Erebus and Aether, because you're going to have access to Domain. You're probably going to hard draw one of your Domain on returns or get access to it through Pantheism. Like I said, the Spell and Trap lineup, this deck, I can't think of any deck that is as consistent as this. This deck really rivals Necros when it comes to the consistency of the Spell and Trap lineup. But like I said, the monsters are always what gave this deck an issue with consistency. Not having enough tribute fodder, or having too much tribute fodder, or not having enough tribute summons and having too many tribute summons. So Quantums have essentially, what I honestly feel like, fixed this deck. I really, really do think that. And it's a shame that it won't be the best deck because of the normal summon limitation, but that's besides the point. And yeah, I guess I should probably get into the deck profile now and tell you what things are cuttable and not cuttable. So 2 Idea and 2 Vela, 2 Idea, 2 Eidos. because the Quantums you have 3 E-Tele and Blue Layer, you don't really want to rely on idea anymore because everyone knows how like the deck gets complete, like your deck shuts down when this guy gets negated or veilered or striked. I feel like, you know, as we go forward, the deck is going to be probably going to be stunned by kind of trap decks. I feel like traps will kind of make a bit of a resurgence, particularly because of Cosmo. So you really don't want to be risking playing into back row. That's why I feel like cutting idea to 2 is better, because like I said, you want to rely on the E-Teles and the 1-for-1 instead, and the red layer. So that's 6 cards. That's a very high chance to open in your opening hand. You know, and you do have the ideas as well, so that's 8 ways of getting your tribute summon fodder. But you know, I feel like the reliance should shift away from idea, because idea is an amazing card, but because of the shift towards solemn strikes and stuff this format, I think that it's probably best not to rely on it too much. So 3 Aether, 3 Erebus for your, you know, like the new guys, you just have to play them. Absolutely fantastic. 2 idea. I hate this card so much, but it's the most awful thing to draw in this deck. Honestly, I can't think of a worse draw in this deck than Eidos, apart from like maybe Blue Layer. Even Blue Layer isn't too bad, I'm pretty sure. I think he's okay when he's summoned. Like he gets you the red layer, and yeah, like these are like the worst draws in the deck. Unfortunately, I can't really say much about that. Honestly, it's unfortunate. 3 Roos, 3 Aether, I mentioned that. 3 Kuraz. This might seem a little overkill to a lot of people, but just remember that the reason that people are playing Kuraz so much is because this guy generates so much advantage for you. Because you're playing multiple returns, it's okay to like pop it and get your Rota going, because you tribute summon him and he pops himself and the return, and when you arrange the chain links in a certain way, you'll be able to get the search and the 2 draw effect, 2 draws from Kuraz. So yeah, he's absolutely phenomenal. The 3 Power Rangers, and then we move on to 3 Domain. I feel like this is cuttable to 2. I'm not sure how reliant most decks are going to be this format on the extra deck. Of course, Cosmo is going to be a very big contender, very big heavyweight for Prague. So, you know, I can understand this being cut. Worst case scenario, if you draw too many, there is always Pantheism to ditch any multiples. And it's a very good target to send off Erebus and Aether, but you could argue that's not a good reason to play a card. I would maybe perhaps include 1 more tribute summon monster instead of the 3rd Aether, and if over the 3rd Dominion. And if I had to pick any, I would think I would probably choose either Thestalos or Zaborg. More likely inclined towards Thestalos, because I feel like, you know, public knowledge of your opponent's hand is absolutely invaluable. 3 Tele. I'm just gonna say now. I'm calling it now. It's 12th of February, 2016, 1:20 a.m. where I am. I'm going to call it now. This card's going to get limited. So, I don't know, but I'm going to put that prediction forward. 1-for-1, your monsters are a lot more expendable, as I said, and it really gives you some really powerful plays, because you can get Idea into Eidos. That means you're going to have 2 normal summons, which means you're less restricted by this deck's normal summon hindrance, which is, you know, getting shut down if your normal summon gets stopped. Means if you have 2 normal summons, you're going to be okay. So 1-for-1 is extremely powerful power play. 3 Pantheism, Staple, 3 Return. I really feel like you need to play 3, honestly. There's no way about it. Because you're playing the Quantums, you need to get to your engine as fast as you can. So having a continuous Rota that can be triggered on your opponent's turn, I think, is really invaluable. 3 Tenacity and 3 Stormforth, pretty stable. 3 Upstart. Honestly, this deck like can brick, but like I said, I don't think it bricks any more or less than what's currently available. And there's no reason to not run Upstart, just to keep that consistency on as high as a level as possible. And of course, 2 Prime. I cut the 3rd because you need space for the Quantum engine, and there's really no other way to, you know, sacrifice that other than sacrificing a 3rd Prime. No extra deck, of course, and side deck is Secret Text. Can't tell you guys. So yeah, that does it. Like I said, to summarize, the red layer essentially becomes such an integral part of this deck's consistency. E-Teles again help so much with being able to just like spit out tribute fodder, and the diversity of being able to just E-Tele, summon this, get this, and that's like a 1 card tribute summon. and then you have 4 other cards in your hand. So you know that means you're going to be able to hopefully get to your return, put the main up. Like there's just so many ways that E-Telly just makes this deck absolutely phenomenal. And yeah, so Red Lair, absolute MVP, amazing card for this deck. It's everything this deck needed. I can't stress enough just how amazing this card has made this deck. But yeah, I think that's pretty much everything I'm gonna have, guys. Thanks for watching as usual. Comment, like, subscribe, and test out for yourself. Let me know what you think.
So foolish.